Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we've got another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 Prestige class for you. And today, coming at you from the Complete Divine, we have got ourselves the Geomancer. Now, the Geomancer, it's an interesting Prestige class, and we're going to talk about what they are. We're going to talk about what it takes to become a Geomancer. We're going to talk about what you get as a Geomancer, and finally we're going to talk about how good the Geomancer is and how you might use them in a build. So let's get started. So first off, what is a Geomancer? Well, unlike other casters who, they prepare their, you have your wizards who prepare their spells diligently in their books, and sorcerers who cast their spells through their innate blood abilities of magic. And your clerics who are casting their spells through their religious devotion to their deity or whatever it is that they worship. Or your druids who cast their spells through their devout belief in nature and just how close they are with the forces of nature. And, the various other casting mechanics that exist. Yeah, Geomancers are like, yeah. That's all kind of the same crap. I'm just gonna mix it all together. It's all the same thing, really, when you get down to it. Like, whatever. That's the Geomancer. They figured out that it's all kind of the same thing. So let's just mix it all together. Arcane, divine, whatever. It's the same. It's all the same. So yeah, that's the Geomancer. They're and by doing so, they do this in a weird way where they do it through their connection to the earth, and that causes them to start to drift and become closer to the earth. So in their pursuit of figuring out how to combine magic, because it's all kind of the same thing, they revert back to the earth and gains the abilities of various plants and animals because of that, and the characteristics of them as well. It's very interesting. Yeah, so that's the Geomancer. They're certainly an interesting one. Now, let's talk about what it takes to become a Geomancer. It's actually pretty simple. So, skills. They need Knowledge Arcana 6 ranks and Knowledge Nature 6 ranks. That's it. Pretty simple, basic, straightforward. Not hard at all to get. They also need to be able to cast 2nd level Arcane and 2nd level Divine. Again, not exactly hard. Takes a few levels. It's going to take you at least 6 levels to pull that off. But yeah, it's definitely doable. Certainly interesting. So that's literally all it takes to get in. Very simple. Pretty straightforward, kind of the Urge kind of stuff. The problem is this isn't really a the Urge class, even though its requirements are the same. So let's talk about what they get. You'll start to get an idea of what this class really is. So first off, they get an average base attack bonus. That's not bad. That's better than the Urge classes typically get. They also get a good fort and will save, which, again, better than the Urge classes get. So, yeah, definitely solid on that one right there. Now, they also get skills, 4+ int, not bad, and their skill list is pretty solid. Now, let's look at the various other things they get. So, they're going to get spellcasting. They advance spellcasting every level. The problem is it's one class, and this has the requirements of a Urge class in order to enter. So that is a bit of an issue. The fact that it's only going to advance one. Now you can just advance one. You can keep both your classes that you've gained 2nd level casting, and you can keep them both up if you so choose. You can mix and match however you want, really. Every time you gain a level, you can apply it to any of your casting classes, whichever one you want. You can only apply it to one, but it's whatever you want. It can be different each level. It can be the same each level. It's really up to you. So yeah. that's one of the bigger drawbacks, is that it's only one class they advance. Now, the big upside to it is spell versatility. This is most likely the reason why you're taking the class. This is where I talked about how they see it, all magic is kind of the same, and they kind of blend it all together. Basically, what the Geomancer does is they are able to take a they're able to well, when they're preparing their spells, they have to prepare them as they would normally, but when they go to cast, they can mix and match between their classes however they feel like in order to get the best results they can. And there are some pretty impressive ways they can do that. Now, before I get into exactly what they can do with that, the big limitation is they're only able to do that up to a certain spell level, and that is their spell versatility level, which is equal to their Geomancer level -1. So, for instance, a 5th level Geomancer could only do this up to 4th level spells. By 10th level, they can do this up to 9th level spells, which, like all the non-epic ones. At 1st level, it's only 0 level spells. But yeah, that's what they're going to be able to do. Any spell level that's higher than this will not apply to. But what this does is kind of impressive. So one thing that it will do is it will let you cast your arcane spells in armor, because you can cast them as if they were a divine spell in that regard. You can cast your spells using any of the stats that any of your classes use. So if you have a wizard, then you can make any of your spells use intelligence. If you have cleric, many of them can use wisdom. Now, one interesting thing is if you used sorcerer and like favored soul, you can get rid of the favored soul's issue of having dual abilities and just make favored soul pure charisma. Since the favored soul uses charisma to prepare their spells, but wisdom to actually cast them. The Geomancer, when using Favored Soul combined with Sorcerer, they could use the Sorcerer ability to cast them, which is Charisma, and just make all Favored Soul spells cast with Charisma. It's a thing that can be done. This absolutely won't work for the Spirit Shaman, who does the opposite, since there aren't really any arcane casters that use Wisdom, but it is what it is. Now, yeah, so that's one thing that can be done with it. Other thing, which is really nice. Other things that can be done. So if you are a cleric, or so if you have a cleric that can spontaneously cast healing spells, yeah, well, you can spontaneously do that with your wizard spells, or any of your arcane spells. So any of your class spells can be converted to cure spells at any time. So that's kind of nice. I'd say that the same applies to druids with their Summon Nature's Ally. Yeah, very, very nice. One thing to note, the druids restriction on metal armor, that much does still apply. Basically, this only works on things that are practical limitations. The druid's restriction of not using metal armor is not a practical limitation. There is nothing that's actually stopping them from wearing metal armor other than that oath that they took, that said that they're not going to do it. It's a spiritual vow. That they could wear it. It's just, goes against their oath, their vow. And, nature would be mad if they didn't obey that, and would take away their casting abilities. So yeah, it's not an actual, so this wouldn't get rid of that. But it does get rid of anything that stems from a practical limitation, which normally the arcane, it's, the armor's clunky and you can't make your moves quite as precise. You might mess them up, which is a practical limitation. There's no spiritual oath involved in that. So it would work. Now, there's a ton of other things that can be done with this. Like, for instance, those are the only ones that are like specifically mentioned, but there's a lot of other things that can be done with this. It's very, very solid. Yeah. So let's go on to the next thing that they get, and that is drift. So every time they level up, they gain drift. Now, and how drift works is every time you level up, every time you gain this, you gain. Now, every time you level up in this class, you gain 1 drift. Now, drift is weird. So drift is its own special mechanic. In order to reach the next level of drift, you have to have 2 of the previous levels, at least 2 of that previous level. So you can, in order to reach stage 2 drift, you need to have 2 stage 1 drifts. In order to gain stage 3 drift, you need to have 2 stage 2 drifts. Anytime you gain drift, you can pick any level that you're up to, but if you don't have like 2 stage 3 drifts, you're not going to be able to get stage 3 drifts. So it is what it is. It's best to get 2 of each exactly, unless you really, really want 2 of the lower ones. Yeah. Now, the stage 1 drifts don't really do anything mechanically. They just kind of make you look different. So let's go over some of what they give. Like, leopard spots start to appear on your body. You grow a cat's tail. You sprout feathers but not wings. Your eyebrows turn green and bushy. Stuff like that. Some interesting ones, like you cause flowers to wilt. That one would be pretty mild since it can't have any actual game mechanics to it. Maybe it's a slow wilt, or maybe it only works on like weaker flowers. It is what it is. It's not going to like cause a tree to just die or anything like that, or going to cause any sort of nature spells to fail. Like, no. Another interesting one is your one that makes your voice sound like a dog's bark but still be intelligible. I really, really wonder how many people playing Geomancers pick this and decide to make themselves sound like Scooby-Doo. Probably more now that this video's out, but yeah. So that's just stage 1. Stage 2 actually and beyond will all have game mechanics effects, positive ones. Things like you become swift as an elk, gain 5 feet movement speed. That's pretty nice. They get various things like that. Most of them are kind of mild, but they're decent. Stage 3, things start to get a little bit better. Like you can gain bonuses on spot checks. You start to gain some cool attack abilities. Yeah, some of the stage 3 ones are decent. Stage 4 ones, there's actually some really solid ones, like being able to trip like a wolf, being able to pounce like a leopard, gaining scent. Very nice stuff, in all honesty. Yeah, some cool attack options. Stage 5 is where it's at, though. Stage 5 has some really good stuff. Like you can gain wings, you can gain tremor sense and or blind sense, or both if you go with both of them. Getting both's kind of hard though, since you would have to take all 10 levels and wouldn't be able to get any of the others. You can move like a cheetah, which will get you, the ability to move at 10 times your movement speed once an hour, which is not bad at all. You can gain trample. There's a number of really good ones. Some of them are kind of subpar too. Oh, and Stage 4 had one that gives you pounce, if I didn't already mention that, which would work really good with the cheetah one. At the start, the pounce one only works once at the start of combat, but still, like, that's the time where you'd want to use that most anyways. When combined with the cheetah one, you could actually move 10 times your movement speed and then full attack. So yeah, really, really nice. Yeah, that's super, super solid to be able to move 10 times movement speed and full attack on the first round of combat. Really good. It's only you are limited to the first round of combat, but still really nice. And these are all extraordinary abilities, so therefore everything that you gain from Drift is going to be usable as a free action, or as a non-action, like some of the stuff like, being able to move 10 times your movement speed as a charge. You can just do that. Like, it takes a full round action to charge, so it'll take a full round action to do. But yeah, yeah, It's really, really solid stuff. Not affected by anti-magic fields at all. This is probably not the main reason you're going into the class, although it might be, depending on your build. But these are some really good stuff and can be quite nice. They also gain ley lines, which just give them a bonus to caster level in certain environments. By 10th level, they will gain 3 ley lines. It can all be the same area or it can be different. If it's all the same area, they get a +3 to caster level while in that area. If it's different, then it's +1 the different ones, or maybe it's a +2 in one area, +1 in another. It's really however you want to mix it up. Can be quite solid. Of course, the main downside of that is the fact that you are going to be a few levels behind, but with Practice Caster, you can make up for that and actually make this pretty solid. Okay, so that's what they get. Let's talk about how good they are. So, it's a niche one. Now, if you were to just do as they say and go, Druid Sorcerer or Druid Wizard, it's kind of underpowered. It's not the best prestige class out there. It's not terrible by any means, but you're going to be behind if you had just gone straight into Druid or straight into Sorcerer or Wizard. So you're going to be less powerful than someone who just went straight into one of those classes, which is a bit of an issue, but you're still fairly strong. Like, you're still probably beating out like the fighter. But yeah, it's got its issues on that. Now, if you play this a little bit more cleverly than that, and you do this on a build that is primarily a martial build, that just happens to get some casting, like something with like a paladin, maybe a paladin, hexblade, something like that, you can get some pretty nice stuff going on that. I've come up with some pretty clever builds with the Geomancer. Could also be used decently well on a Master of Many Forms type of build. The kind that uses a few levels of Druid to gain Wild Shape, and then once it has Wild Shape, will stop gaining any spell casting progression and focus on the interesting abilities from Wild Shape. Now, the drifts on here actually would add to that a decent amount. There's some decent drifts that I didn't even mention, like there's a poison that you can get that does scale with level, and your trample that I mentioned does scale with level as well, so that's really nice. Some decent, these drifts do actually work decently with that. And the fact that, you are going to have the casting requirements, at least some of them, to meet the prereqs, you might be able to get in fairly easy, and it might not detract from the build too much, depending on the build exactly. So yeah, this might actually not be a bad option for something like a Master of Many Forms type build. Could be interesting on that. It's not the best synergy, but there's some synergy going on there. There's probably a way to make it work, although it might be a little tricky. So yeah, that's the Geomancer. It's a very niche prestige class. Now, in a lower optimization type of game, yeah, you could use it without too much issue. You can mix it fairly easily with something like a Mystic the Urge, in order to make it so that you can cast all your spells in armor and also have 2 casting classes to pull from. Can be nice. Is it the best option out there? No. Like I say, this is more for like a mid to low optimization kind of game. Would not work well for that in high optimization at all, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's the Geomancer. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more D&D 3.5 content, because I do one of these on every single class, race, and prestige class in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you